What's the what are the kind of challenges that you've seen, or maybe because I know you come from the software part, so you're kind of you're relying on the infrastructure in place. But what are some of the challenges that you see when industry, Siemens clients, for example, are needing to upgrade the infrastructure? Where do you find the kind of the main hurdles, or where have you seen that in the past?
In this case, the challenge is really the scaling up towards small and medium-sized enterprise to get it in a broad area available, as a technology available. And the second issue is, besides the scaling, also what are the new business opportunities which we can target with. This is when you ask me what is the top two highlights topic. It's scaling up a small and medium-sized enterprise, because these are the backbone of the manufacturing. You know, don't ask me, 80 or 90% of the manufacturing GDP is covered from small and medium-sized enterprises, also not from the Siemens and others of this world, but you know, this is our customers or our partners, and scaling up in this area is key, and new business opportunities. Besides the fact that we have to target sustainability issues, resilience, but only to highlight on these two topics.
There has to be the business case. And how do we help build the business case for the 6G networks now, and including 5G networks as they exist, so extending those networks now, so that those SMEs, for example, can justify very easily why they need to incorporate the new capital expenditure that we spoke about, and also ensuring that we're able to improve that return on investment of future networks. So maybe you have an idea, kind of, you were talking before with me about, you know, making the networks work harder, but also making them more efficient. So I don't know, how are you seeing this from your point of view in ways of making it more market ready in terms of the technologies that are going in now that will be the networks of the future?
So I'm very much from the research side, so I see this very neutral. And of course, there's a lot of sort of political discussion where obviously they're very sort of vested interests, right? To see 5G succeed, to see 6G succeed, to integrate verticals and so on, right? There's a lot of money in those networks and interest in having those networks heavily used. Now, from a purely sort of what's likely going to happen and sort of in a completely neutral way, I think that's a very, very good question that we still don't have a very good answer for, right? So the question is always, why should mobile networks do that, as opposed to all the other options that you have, right? For example, with the sensing, the question is, do you use a mobile network to sense the environment, or do you use cameras, or do you use a radar, or whatever other sensors that are well understood in manufacturing, right? Pressure sensors, temperature, and so on, right? Sort of, there are a lot of existing solutions. So the only way a mobile network is going to break into that space and is going to be used there is either because it leads to substantial cost savings, and they have to be substantial, because if you just save a little bit, you stick to the old, well-known, well-tested approaches, right? So they have to either be substantial savings or things that you simply cannot do in any other way. Now, the other area where I clearly see that is no network is as ubiquitously deployed as the mobile network. So if we are talking about sensing at city scale or at country scale, well, yeah, theoretically, you could cover a country with video cameras or radars or whatever you want, right? But it's just like the costs are in no proportion to any use case you might potentially have there, right? That's just not going to happen. Whereas mobile networks are already deployed there. So if you're talking about city scale sensing, and not just in the sort of very inner city where maybe you already have video cameras, but you're trying to do traffic monitoring ubiquitously, right? Throughout sort of very, like, many large scale urban areas, right? That is something that mobile networks can provide. Now, what's the use case? Who's going to pay for that? Well, city planners, cities themselves, right? They need to understand better how their infrastructure is used, maybe transportation services and so on. But again, right, sort of that's something where I think we need to understand a little bit better the specific use case to understand when would a mobile operator be willing to do that, because the money they have to invest in their network to enable this, and it's not just, right, the base station's already there, fine, but now you need the whole infrastructure to manage that, to make sure you can extract the data in a privacy-preserving way and so on, right? Sort of then the engineering challenges are clearly, like, manageable, but they're there, they cost money, right? And then when would you have somebody willing to pay for that data that makes that a compelling business case?
Have you kind of, how are you reflecting within NEC that kind of learnings from 5G experience, and how is that shaping the idea that the networks of the future will have to be different, so that the business case is easier to make? So how are you reflecting on that?
So basically, okay, if you see at 5G, I'm taking this as an example. So we had like the first attempt of deploying massively millimeter wave connectivity to boost a lot the capacity of the network at the end user, so provide extremely high rate to the mobile device, basically. And this, of course, if you have such a powerful infrastructure that gives you this, let's say, capability, then you will find use cases to deploy. So you can find new services that can fit this new, let's say, capacity of the network. However, this, let's say, millimeter wave usage was not followed by deployment, a massive deployment as envisioned because of the high cost. So getting back to what Thomas and Joerg were mentioning, so what we want to do here with the 6G is trying to, let's say, overcome the limitation that we have seen in the deployment phase of the previous, the current network generation, and use this valuable information of what were, I would say, the failures of the current technology to make the new one capable of providing these services.
And I suppose just to finish off on my last kind of point, and maybe I'll leave this to you, Thomas, is, you know, we're not introducing this into a vacuum. The kind of final word is, how do we bring new network, and it's probably a last sentence because I have a minute left, is just kind of, what is it that research in these networks need to have aware when it comes to implementing a technology within a factory, within a site that's already existing? You know, it's not just about distances and locations. We also need to look at what else aspects should we be looking at in terms of ensuring the successful adoption by the organization itself. What else any advice for everyone there?
Yes, to be honest, at the moment we have, let's say, a good opportunity, because all this needs, you know, sustainability, resilience, and so on is on the spot. And, you know, all these initiatives are starting up and running. And this initiative have a little bit and maybe a little bit more focus on a higher TRL level, also are closer to the adaptation, and you know, I've heard also before words about impact and so on. And to establish here, and I think this round is one of the examples, to establish this link from research, from technology aspects, what is possible with 5G and 6G, and to adapt this. I think that's what we have to drive. It was a relative general remark, but also with a positive message that we have the moment. I think the environment in doing this, or the mood in doing this, or the attitude, or however you describe this.
Excellent. Thank you. And I put you on the spot there as well anyway. So thanks very much to Thomas, to Francesco, and to Joerg for giving the opinions and thoughts, and hopefully we kind of have a bit more view on where we need to go next in terms of taking this to the future. So thank you all very much. And then I hand over to Tanya.